There is one race you can actually win. You have spent your life losing every other one. Measuring against the room, against the rival, against the version of other people you built in your own head. The Stoics watched men do this and called it the surest way to stay a slave while believing yourself free. But there is a race with a finish line you can reach, and it is so small and so quiet that most people walk past it their whole lives. You remember Aurelius. He had seen the scoreboard for what it was, a machine measuring his attention, not his life. He had caught the rival he fought every day and found him to be a phantom he had sculpted from his own fear. He knew the trap now, completely. And he was still losing. Because here's the thing no one tells you. Knowing the trap is not the same as escaping it. The reflex does not care that you have seen through it. He would walk into a room, understanding everything, and still feel the old drop in his chest, still feel himself ranked and found wanting. Inside had given him a map of the prison. It had not given him the door. He tried the obvious exits. He tried not caring, and found that numbness is just the scoreboard turned to face the wall, still hanging there, still his. He tried winning harder, and each summit only introduced him to the next one. He tried simply seeing through it, telling himself the comparison was a fiction, and the fiction kept its grip anyway, because a feeling does not dissolve, just because you have named it. What he was missing was not understanding. It was a replacement. The mind will not give up a measure unless you hand it a better one. Leave the space empty and the scoreboard moves right back in, because measuring is what the mind does. The only question is what it measures. So what do you give it? The Stoics had an answer, and it is so unglamorous that people hear it and look for something better. There isn't anything better. Epictetus, who was born a slave and so understood freedom more clearly than the men who owned him, said the whole of a life divides into two piles. What is yours and what is not? Almost everything you have been ranking yourself by sits in the second pile. Another man's talent, the room's regard, your reputation, your luck, the comparison itself. None of it is in your hands. But there is one thing in the first pile, and it is the only thing the scoreboard can never reach. Your own conduct. How you act. Whether you tell the truth when it costs you. Whether you do the work in front of you cleanly. Whether you can be glad when someone else does well. That is the entire territory that is actually yours. And it turns out to be enough, because it is the only ground a measure can stand on without a crowd. Watch how this changes the race. The scoreboard measures outcomes. Who finished ahead? Who was praised? Who rose? But outcomes are mostly weather, luck, timing, other people's choices, none of it in your control. Conduct is different. Conduct is the part you author. And the only honest way to score it is not against another man who started somewhere else and carries burdens you cannot see, but against the one person who began exactly where you are standing, yourself, yesterday. Did you act a little better today than you did then? That is a race with a real finish line, and you are the only runner in it. This is what the Stoics meant by the daily review. Aurelius began to end each day with it, sitting in the dark with no one to perform for, not flogging himself. That is just a ledger of guilt wearing virtue's clothes. Asking, where was I patient? Where did I let the old reflex run me? Where did I do the work cleanly? And where did I cut a corner because I thought no one was counting? 4 honest questions, answered to no audience. The first nights it felt like nothing. He kept waiting for it to feel like winning. It never did. It felt like something quieter and more durable than winning. It felt like ground under his feet. And here is the cost. Because there is always a cost. And the honest essays tell you what it is. The inner measure is lonely. No one applauds it. There is no crowd at this finish line. No one to see you choose the harder, cleaner thing in a room where the lie would have been easier and unseen. The scoreboard at least paid you in the glances of others. This pays you in nothing a witness can confirm. You do the right thing in private and the world does not adjust by a single degree. For a man who spent his life measuring by other eyes, that silence is the hardest part. And it is also exactly the freedom, because a reward only you can grant is a reward no one can take. There is one more turn, and it belongs to Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the entire known world, and could have made the applause of millions the purpose of his days. He refused. In his private notes, he warned himself, again and again, not to make the praise of others the point of his action, to act rightly and let the reaction be whatever it would be, the way a vine bears grapes and then looks for nothing further. Think about who is saying this. Not a monk with nothing to lose. The most powerful man alive, with every reason to chase reputation, deciding on purpose that reputation was the wrong master. He scored himself by conduct, because he had learned that everything else was on loan and could be recalled at any hour. If the inner measure was enough for an emperor who could have had any other, it is almost certainly enough for you. So the race resolves into something you could miss if you blink. You are not running against the room. You are not running against the rival you invented. You are running against who you were yesterday, scored by the one thing that was ever yours to control, witnessed by no one but the part of you that already knows the truth. It is the smallest possible race. It is the only one a person can actually win. Aulus did not announce any of this. There was no one to announce it to. One ordinary morning he woke before the city, the way he always had, and felt the old machine reach for its numbers. Who was ahead? Who was watching? Where he stood. He noticed it the way you notice weather. And then, instead of answering it, he asked himself the only question that was ever his to answer: whether he would act well today. And, without waiting for anyone to be impressed, he stood up and began.